Nobody was ready for this, and now there's no turning back. What started as quiet whispers about Teyana Taylor moving on has exploded into one of the most chaotic, emotional, and potentially life-changing celebrity meltdowns we've seen in years. Because behind the scenes, something snapped, and all signs are pointing straight at Iman Shumpert. Sources are calling it a full-on crash-out. Not just anger. Not just heartbreak. We're talking about late-night calls, doors slammed, voices raised so loud people nearby reportedly heard everything. We're talking about messages sent in the heat of the moment, messages that were never supposed to leave private conversations, but somehow they did. And now, they are everywhere. Because the moment rumors started linking Teyana Taylor to Pierre, everything changed. The timeline got messy. The emotions got real. And according to insiders, Iman didn't take it quietly, he reacted hard. One leaked voice note, already spreading like wildfire, allegedly captures a moment where emotions spiral out of control. The tone: shaken, frustrated, almost unrecognizable. And then comes the part that has everyone frozen. Because behind all the drama, all the tension, all the speculation, there's talk of custody. Yes, custody. Legal moves. Serious ones. Conversations that could take this from messy celebrity drama straight into a courtroom battle that nobody is prepared for. And the question everyone is asking right now: is this about protecting his family? Or losing control completely? Because what's happening behind closed doors might be even worse than what's already leaked. The first sign that something was seriously wrong didn't come from a headline, it came from silence. For days, everything around Iman Shumpert went unusually quiet. No posts. No appearances. No casual updates. And for someone who had always kept at least a light presence online, that silence felt heavy. Suspicious. Like something was building behind the scenes that nobody was meant to see. And then, it cracked. It started with a single message that wasn't supposed to leave a private thread. A screenshot, blurry at first, easy to dismiss, circulated in a small group before exploding across fan pages within hours. The message itself looked emotional, raw, unfiltered. You moved on that fast. After everything. No name attached. No confirmation. But people started connecting dots immediately. The timing lined up too perfectly, with the growing rumors linking Teyana Taylor to Pierre. The tone felt too personal to ignore. And then came the second message. This one wasn't a question. It was a statement. I see what's going on. Don't play with me. That's when everything escalated. Because insiders claim those weren't isolated texts. They were part of a much longer exchange, one filled with tension, accusations, and moments where emotions clearly spiraled out of control. Messages sent late at night. Deleted. Then resent. Words typed in anger that couldn't be taken back. And somehow, pieces of that conversation started leaking. Not all at once. But enough. Enough to paint a picture that was getting harder and harder to ignore. According to someone close to the situation, Iman Shumpert had been trying to keep things together privately at first. Calm conversations. Attempts to understand what was really going on between Teyana and Aaron. But every answer he got, it didn't sit right. Because while Teyana wasn't publicly confirming anything, she wasn't denying it either. And that silence, it hit harder than any words could. That's when the tone shifted. From confusion to frustration. From frustration to something much more intense. Because one insider claims there was a phone call, late, emotional, and completely off the rails. Voices raised. Questions repeated over and over again. And at one point, a line that has now become the center of everything. So this is what we're doing now. Nobody knows exactly what was said before or after that. But according to the source, that moment changed everything. Because whatever answer Iman got on that call, it wasn't the one he wanted. And that's when the crash out really began. We're talking about a complete emotional shift. Calls being made back to back. People close to both sides suddenly being pulled into conversations they didn't want to be part of. Friends being asked questions. Mutual connections being pressured for information. And then, the first sighting dropped. A photo. Grainy. Taken from a distance. But clear enough to send the internet into a frenzy. Teyana Taylor and Pierre together. Not a red carpet. Not an event. Somewhere private. Somewhere they thought nobody was watching. Within minutes, the image was everywhere. Zoomed in. Cropped. Enhanced. People analyzing body language, distance, expressions. Anything they could use to confirm what it meant. And Iman. He saw it. That's when things reportedly got explosive. Because according to multiple insiders, that photo wasn't just confirmation, it was the breaking point. The moment everything he had been trying to hold together finally snapped. Another message leaked shortly after. This one shorter. Sharper. You got him around my kids. That line hit different. Because now, the situation wasn't just about a relationship. It was about family. And that's when the word started circulating for the first time. Custody. At first, it was just a whisper. A rumor buried in comment sections. Something fans threw around without real evidence. But behind the scenes, sources claim those conversations were actually happening. Quietly. Carefully. But seriously. Because if the timeline being pieced together is accurate, then Iman wasn't just reacting emotionally, he was starting to think strategically. Asking questions about legal options. What could be done? What rights he had? What moves could be made if things escalated further? And at the same time, more leaks. A voice note surfaced next. Short. Less than 20 seconds. But enough to shake everything. The voice, believed to be Iman's, sounded strained. Frustrated. Like someone trying to stay composed but failing. I'm not about to be played like this, not in real life. That clip spread faster than anything before it. Because this wasn't text. This was real. Emotion. Tone. Energy that couldn't be misinterpreted. And as it spread, reactions started pouring in from everywhere. Fans picking sides. Some defending him, saying anyone would react the same way. Others calling it a meltdown, saying things were going too far. But the real chaos started when other voices entered the conversation. Because suddenly, people who had nothing to do with the situation started speaking up. Subtle posts. Cryptic captions. Reactions that didn't name names, but didn't need to. One celebrity tweeted, "Social media will never show you the full truth." Another posted, "Protect your peace at all costs." Fans immediately connected it to the situation, turning every vague statement into fuel for the fire. And right in the middle of all that noise, Teyana Taylor finally moved. Not a statement. Not an interview. A post. A single photo. No caption. Just her. Calm. Composed. Unbothered. And that image. It did more damage than anything else. Because while everything around her was exploding, she looked completely untouched by it. And for Iman, According to insiders, that was the moment things went from emotional to personal. Because now, it wasn't just about what was happening. It was about how it looked. And it didn't look good. That's when another conversation allegedly took place, this one not between Iman and Teyana, but between Iman and someone in his inner circle. And what was said in that exchange? It hasn't been fully confirmed. But one line has leaked. One line that's now raising serious questions about what comes next. I'm not letting this play out like this, not with my kids involved. That sentence changed the tone of everything. Because now, this wasn't just public drama. This was a potential legal battle. And the scariest part. Nobody knows how far it's about to go. Because behind the scenes, something is already moving. Papers. Conversations. Decisions being made quietly while the world watches the chaos unfold. And just when it felt like things couldn't escalate any further, another leak dropped late that night. This one bigger than all the others. Because it doesn't just involve Iman. It doesn't just involve Teyana. It directly connects Pierre to something nobody saw coming. And if it's real, then this entire situation is about to explode in a way nobody can control. The moment that next leak dropped, everything shifted. Because up until now, people were guessing. Connecting dots. Building theories out of fragments. But this time, it wasn't fragments anymore. It was a full conversation. Screenshots. Timestamps. Multiple messages stacked on top of each other like pieces of a puzzle that suddenly made too much sense. And once those images hit the internet, there was no slowing it down. The names were blurred, but not enough. People recognized patterns. Writing styles. The way certain phrases were used. And within minutes, fans were convinced they were looking at a private exchange involving Pierre. And what those messages suggested. It lit a fire that spread instantly. One line stood out above everything else. I didn't want it to happen like this, but it already is. That sentence alone was enough to send timelines into complete meltdown. Because now the narrative wasn't just about Iman reacting to rumors. It was about whether something real had been happening all along. Something that wasn't as sudden as it looked. And Iman. He saw it. According to insiders, the moment those screenshots reached him, whatever calm he had left disappeared completely. Because in his mind, this wasn't speculation anymore. This was confirmation. Another voice note surfaced almost immediately after. Longer this time. Clearer. And impossible to ignore. I knew something was off. I just didn't think it was this. You could hear it in his voice. Not just anger. Disappointment. The kind that sits heavy, like something breaking in real time. And that's when everything spiraled again. Because instead of staying quiet, Iman started responding. Not directly. Not in a clean statement. But through posts. Cryptic. Sharp. And impossible to miss. Loyalty ain't for everybody. Then another. Watch who smiles in your face. Each one hit harder than the last, and fans wasted no time connecting them to the situation. Screenshots flooded every platform. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. People weren't just watching anymore. They were choosing sides. And right in the middle of all that chaos, a video surfaced. Short. Shaky. Taken from inside what looked like a private gathering. At first, it didn't seem like much. Just background noise, people talking, music playing faintly. But then the camera shifted, and everything changed. Because there he was. Iman Shumpert. Not calm, Not composed. Pacing. Talking fast. Gesturing in a way that made it clear this wasn't a normal conversation. And then you hear it. You think this is a game. That line cut through everything. The room went quiet in the clip. The tension was thick, even through a phone screen. And before anyone could process what was happening, the video ended abruptly. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. Because now, people weren't just hearing about his reaction. They were seeing it. And that made it real in a way nothing else had. But just when it felt like Iman was losing control of the narrative, Teyana Taylor stepped in again. And this time, it wasn't subtle. No silent posts. No cryptic captions. She went live. No warning. No build-up. Just a sudden stream that pulled thousands of viewers in within seconds. And what people saw? It wasn't chaos. It was control. She looked calm. Centered. Like someone who had already made peace with whatever was happening around her. "I'm not about to let the internet tell my story," she said, voice steady. That line alone shifted everything. Because now, for the first time, she was speaking directly. But she didn't give answers. She gave just enough. "There's a lot people don't understand, and I'm not explaining everything right now." That sentence left more questions than answers, and that's exactly what made it powerful. Because it suggested there was a side of this story nobody had heard yet. And that possibility, it changed how people were looking at everything. Some fans started pulling back, questioning whether Iman's reaction was based on incomplete information. Others doubled down, saying her silence before this moment spoke louder than anything she was saying now. But the real explosion came at the end of her live. Because just before she logged off, she said something that hit like a shockwave. "Don't confuse growth with betrayal." And then, she ended it. No follow-up. No clarification. Just silence. And that silence, it split the internet in half. Because now, the narrative wasn't clear anymore. Was she moving on? Was she protecting herself? Or was there something deeper that nobody was seeing? And Pierre. Up until this point, he had stayed mostly out of it. No major statements. No public reactions. Just silence. But that changed. Because less than an hour after Teyana's live ended, he posted. Not a paragraph. Not a rant. Just one line. "I'm not hiding." That was it. But it was enough. Because now, all three of them had stepped into the spotlight. And the situation, it was no longer contained. It was everywhere. And just when it felt like things couldn't get more intense, another piece dropped. This one different. Not messages. Not videos. Legal talk. A document, unconfirmed, but already spreading fast, hinting at something serious. Something official. Because if what people are saying is true, then Iman Shumpert isn't just reacting emotionally anymore. He's preparing to act legally. And if that's real, then this entire situation is about to leave social media and enter a courtroom. But there's one detail in that document that has everyone frozen. One line that changes the stakes completely. Because it doesn't just mention custody. It mentions a reason. A reason that directly involves Pierre. And if that part turns out to be true, then this isn't just drama anymore. This is war. The moment that document started circulating, everything changed again. Because this wasn't another blurry screenshot. This wasn't a shaky clip, or a half-heard voice note. This looked official. Typed. Structured. Legal language that didn't leave much room for interpretation, and even though nobody could fully confirm its authenticity, one thing was clear. It was too detailed to ignore. The headline alone had people frozen, petition for custody review. And right underneath it, a name that sent shockwaves across every platform. Iman Shumpert. Within minutes, the internet went into full meltdown mode. Fans weren't just speculating anymore, they were reacting in real time to what looked like the beginning of a legal battle. Screenshots of the document spread like wildfire, dissected line by line, with people trying to figure out what was real and what wasn't. But then, they saw the part that changed everything. Because buried inside the text, between legal phrases and formal language, was a section that hinted at the reason behind it all. Concerns regarding environment and recent associations. That line alone was enough to ignite a storm. Because it didn't say names. But it didn't have to. People immediately connected it to Aaron Pierre. And just like that, the narrative flipped again. Now, this wasn't just about heartbreak. It wasn't just about emotions running wild. This was about protection. Or at least, that's how it was being framed. And Aaron. He saw it. Sources say the moment that document reached him, his reaction wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive. It was focused. Because now, this wasn't just personal, it was public in a way that could affect everything. His name. His image. His place in a situation that was quickly turning into something legal. And for the first time since all of this began, he responded directly. Not with a post. Not with a cryptic message. Another live. No warning. No build-up. Just a sudden notification that pulled people in instantly. And this time, he didn't hold back. I've been quiet out of respect, he said, staring straight into the camera. But don't play with my name like that. The energy was different. Not emotional. Controlled. Measured. The kind of tone that feels more dangerous than yelling ever could. I'm not part of whatever narrative is being pushed, he continued. And I'm definitely not the reason for any of this. That statement hit hard. Because for the first time, he was rejecting everything being implied. Every rumor. Every accusation. Every connection people had been making between him and the situation. And then, he paused. Looked down for a second. And said something that changed everything again. But I do know more than I've said. That line alone sent the chat into chaos. Because now, it wasn't just about defending himself. It was about what he might reveal next. And just when it felt like he was about to explain, a comment appeared. Verified. Teyana Taylor. And it was only 4 words. Please don't do this. Everything stopped. The chat froze. Screenshots were taken instantly. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. Because now, she wasn't just part of the story. She was in it. Live. Responding in real time. And Aaron. He saw it. Read it. And for a moment, he didn't speak. The silence stretched. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Then finally, he leaned closer to the camera. You want me to stay quiet, he said softly. After everything. No response. The comment just sat there. And somehow, that made it louder. Because now, whatever she was trying to stop, it was serious. And Aaron knew it. You had plenty of time to say something, he continued. You didn't. That line hit like a punch. Because now, this wasn't just about rumors or documents or speculation. This was personal. Raw. Unfiltered. And then, he reached for something off-screen. The movement was small, but the reaction online was instant. Because people knew. Something else was coming. Something bigger. I didn't want to do this, he said, voice low. And then, the screen glitched. For a split second, something flashed. An audio file. A file name. Just enough for people to catch it before the stream froze. And then, it cut. Completely. Gone. No explanation. No ending. Nothing. The live disappeared mid-moment, leaving millions staring at their screens, refreshing, replaying, trying to piece together what they had just seen. Because whatever that file was, it wasn't meant to be shown lightly. And if Aaron was ready to play it, then everything up to this point was just the beginning. Now the internet is in full chaos. Fans are divided. Some are backing Iman, saying he's protecting his family no matter what it looks like. Others are defending Teyana, insisting there's a side of the story nobody understands yet. And then there are those watching Aaron, convinced he's holding the one piece of evidence that could flip everything upside down. But here's the part nobody can ignore. 3 people. 3 different versions of the truth. And one situation that's getting more serious by the second. Because if that document is real, if that audio exists, if the silence between them means what people think it does, then this isn't just drama anymore. It's a breaking point. And whatever happens next, it won't stay online. It won't stay contained. It will change everything. Because right now, behind the scenes, decisions are being made. Moves are being planned. And someone is about to make the next move. The question is, who strikes first? If you think this story is slowing down, you're about to be blindsided. Because what you just watched, that's not the ending. That's the setup for something even bigger, even messier, and way more explosive than anything that's dropped so far.